First thing we need to do is hide the drop-down menu dynamic panel. Now go to the website, copy and save the pictures to your desktop so that we can import them into Axure. The pictures are 748 pixels wide and 421 pixels high. So we can drag an image onto the canvas and import those. Now we should optimize it and set auto size it so that it will have the exact dimensions also in the prototype. Convert it to dynamic panel and rename the state. Add another 4 states to it and do the same thing for the other 3 images. I will rename the first state bring receipt, then add the others. Double click to edit the second state called state1, add an image widget and import the second image from your folder. Since the image is quite large, Axure gives you an option to optimize it so that it will load nicely into the browser after the prototype is generated. Click Yes to optimize it and also OK to auto size it. Now rename the state to 3light. Do the same for the other state. Double click to edit it and then drag an image, position it to 0 on the X and Y axis, optimize and auto size it, and then rename it to Starbucks Latte. Now we need to create the right hand side elements. Again, copy and save the images to your desktop. Now drag an image onto the canvas exactly above the Starbucks image. Zoom in a little bit and position it accordingly. We see that the image has some outer glow that we can create in Axure 7. Before Axure 7, we didn't have the possibility to use drop shadows, outer glows, and inner glows. Now add the drop shadow and set the X and Y offsets to 0 and the blur to 12 or 14 so that it will look similar to an outer glow. Repeat for all the images now. Instead of dragging the image widget from the widgets pane, you can hold Ctrl and click and drag from another image widget to duplicate it. While you drag, you will see some guides that appear to help you position the element relative to the elements around it. We need to create the hover effect now. Drag a rectangle of 187 pixels wide and 77 pixels high onto the canvas. Make the background 3A, 35, 31 and set the line width to none. Now send to back by holding the Ctrl plus open bracket key. Now we need to create the little arrow. Also drag a rectangle and right click and select shape and triangle left. Position it accordingly and resize it. Color the background and remove the border. Now drag the label widget and include the text. Color white and size 13 pixels. Name it, share the love, and rearrange it. Group the triangle, the rectangle, and the label, and convert them into a dynamic panel. Rename the state selected and create another state named hover. By mistake, I also selected the image and added it to the dynamic panel. Double-click the panel and press Ctrl plus X to cut and paste it outside of the dynamic panel, again onto the main canvas. Now select the dynamic panel named Sweet Receipt and add another state that we will call Hover. Copy and paste the contents of the previous state into the new one. Copy the same widgets and change the colors according to the website. The background color is 2A8A15. Make a third state named Not Selected, as we need also a default state for when the mouse is not over the element and also it is not clicked. Make the opacity of the rectangle and triangle to 0 and set the interaction style of the label to normal. Make the text label selected and set the selected state to color white. Now color the normal label to 333. Name it Label 1. Now to do the same for the rest of the tabs. I will do this quickly, just for the sake of time saving, and not to record repetitive work. Now we need to create the interactions between these 4 tabs, having in mind that there are 4 tabs with 3 states, and each of them need on-click, mouse over, and mouse out, so we will have to do a lot of work. We will need to create different cases for each event, taking into consideration the state that one dynamic panel is in compared to the other 3. At the end, we should end up with the following interactions. Select the Sweet Receipt thumb image and double-click on the on-click event in the Widget Name and Properties pane. Add the condition if state of panel Sweet Receipt equals state selected, then set state of Sweet Receipt to selected, and the other dynamic panels Indulgent, Starbucks Latte, and 3 Light to not selected. Click OK to apply these. Add another case with the condition that if state of panel Sweet Receipt equals Hover, then set panel state Sweet Receipt to selected and the other dynamic panels to not selected, as in the previous case. The third case that we will add is if state of panel Sweet Receipt equals not selected, then we set Sweet Receipt dynamic panel state to selected and the other panels to not selected. Not that complex as it may appear, no? Now we will make these tabs interact with the carousel's states. All we need to do is add the last action, like highlighted. Set carousel to a certain state, depending on the element clicked, with a fade out effect and fade in effect of 300 milliseconds. Now we can set the opacity of the Starbucks image to 0, so that it is not visible, and the prototype will look clean, even though the element still exists and the interactions that we added in the previous videos will still be there. Now preview the prototype. While we hover over the states, we will see them changing, and also when clicking on one, the state changes, setting the others to their normal state. Hope you enjoyed our prototyping journey as we went from the basics to creating pretty nice interactions using Axure RP7.